And away we go. It is the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken right here on BearcatJournal.com, www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Go to the website. They will bring it right to your front door, pretty much anywhere inside the 275 loop, or you can head down to Dayton, Kentucky. Wednesday through Sunday, lunch and dinner. Tell them to pump it up and save yourself 15% off of the Galactic goodness. It is out of this world. Hi, Aaron.
Yo.
You're not home.
I am not home. I'm in Cincinnati at Mom's house. Had a funeral for one of my dad's very best friends. So had to
Thank
go.
you, brother. We love you.
Had to go deal with that. And his son also happened to be one of my groomsmen. So
never easy. Never easy.
Yep.
But maybe we'll give you a few minutes to get your mind off of things.
I appreciate that.
I'm well aware of how valuable it can be.
As I know you are.
Big 12 Thursdays, where we take a look back at the week. It was a bit of a slow week. I think there were 4 teams that were on buys. So no Wednesday games. But still a very interesting week in the league. Kansas smacks Houston on Saturday, turns around on Monday, goes to Manhattan, and they fall in overtime to Kansas State 75-70. Kansas State got what they thought they were going to get from Tyler Perry all year. They definitely got it in this one with 26. And again, Aaron, Kansas's bench scored 2 points. Marco Jackson scored 1 field goal, and that was the entirety of the production from the Kansas bench. Johnny Furphy only had 4. So kind of a shock that, they hung as tight as they did. But end of the day, you can never get too high in this league because somebody's going to catch you.
Look, Kansas on the road has been very different than Kansas at home.
Sure.
On the road, they've lost to UCF. They've lost to
West
Virginia. They've lost to Iowa State, and now to Kansas State. It's
Iowa State's
the same
really good,
team.
I won't put Iowa State on the questionable road loss list. Like the other ones
I'm not saying they're questionable losses, but when you're a top 5 team, you're supposed to be able to go on the road and win games.
Well, I'm saying when you played that many road games, if you've lost to Iowa State, you look at it and you kind of go, that's not that bad. But then you add the other ones on top of it, and you're like,
UCF and Kansas State and
West Virginia,
sure.
Right.
So
now
they just got to figure. They got to figure some shit out on the road. They are not the same team on the road as they are at home.
Yeah. Hopefully that's something we're talking about as a recurring storyline Saturday night. Houston does what you would expect Houston to do after losing as bad as they did to Kansas. They come out and dominate Kansas State. Kelvin Sampson got his Bearcat prep work started early in one of the most hilarious ejections I've ever seen in my life.
I feel like it was an overreaction. Granted,
I mean, when you go back and watch it, the foul was egregious.
How long have you been doing this? You've seen plenty of egregious fouls. You can't be running to the free throw line of the opposing side of the court.
It was a fast walk.
That's because that's the highest gear that man has. He's no spring chicken.
His beef was with the official, the way that they rotate. The guy that's on the sideline here rotates underneath the basket. So that guy was really far away.
My beef is
Kelvin had something he needed to say to him.
My beef is the fact that Houston fouls every time anybody else has the ball, period, and dot. So, look, man, sometimes you get the calls, sometimes you don't. You should be used to it at this point. whether you're getting the call or not, it's just happening on the other side of the ball now, as opposed to you. So come on, man.
I thought it was funny.
It was, but it's obnoxious. You're a top 5 team. You still won by a lot.
Sure. It was funny though. Like all of a sudden he's just flying down the floor from the opposite end. Like, what is happening?
He just looked like senile. He just looked like senile grandpa who forgot to take his meds today.
The streak of teams in this league that have lost their next game after playing Cincinnati now is at 9. As Texas Tech falls 79-73 at Baylor. I mean, Baylor looked like the better team throughout that game. Texas Tech did a nice job kind of hanging in there, but it felt like Baylor was better. Pretty clearly, Baylor was better.
That's no surprise, right?
Not really, especially at Baylor.
Texas Tech
they've
also
got a lot of pop on offense.
They're dealing with sick, as everybody is around this time of year.
Everybody is. Yeah, everybody is.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm not. It keeps the storyline going that a team plays Cincinnati and loses the next game. So,
and again, do I put that much into it? No, but it's an interesting stat. It's interesting. That's all. Iowa State 70-65. They jumped out big early on Texas. They were able to hold on down the stretch. I'm telling you, man, I really like the more I see of this Iowa State team. I don't know how good they're going to be in March because they don't have a lot of offensive pop, but I like watching them play. They're methodical, they're efficient, they're physical, and they just kind of bullied Texas early and then kind of rode it out to the finish line.
I know you're big on Lipsy, and he had about as good a game as anybody on Iowa State. But I'm gonna guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would think that Iowa State is one of your favorite teams because they remind you a little bit of Cincinnati in the fact that they're gritty, they're grimy, and they have depth, and they play with that depth, and that's part of the reason they are who they have been.
Sure. I mean, I think Otzelberger's a really good coach. I don't think this is like a crazy talented team, but they play well. They play well together. I mean, there is some Cincinnati to that where, Lipsy is probably a top end guy in terms of like the future of the conference. But I mean, you could probably say the same for Dan at this point. So yeah, I mean, I think there's something to that. Game, respect, game, something like that, Aaron.
Yeah.
And then in Norman, Oklahoma, 82-66, tie game at halftime. Oklahoma pulls away in the second half and gets a comfortable win at home. That was big for Oklahoma. That was kind of, they go into that game 4-5. They go to 4-6. That's a team that 2 weeks ago was in the top 10.
Well, I've not been shy about the fact that Oklahoma hasn't done a ton to impress me, but it seems they're starting to put it together. McCollum is very good. Uzan is
their defense is really good. First and foremost.
So BYU is up and down. They are a lot of this. So as most teams in this conference are, but it's when you can figure out how to string them together.
Right. Let's take a look at the week ahead. TCU at Iowa State. Interesting one for TCU. I mean, they could fall to 5-5, and you're flirting with kind of disaster at that point. You're a bad week away from like swimming upstream, which is what has been our biggest like concern with this UC team. They haven't been. We'll go football on it, Aaron. They haven't played ahead of the sticks. There hasn't been a lot of 2nd and 4 in the conference slate so far for the Bearcats, and TCU's in danger of kind of putting themselves there.
Jameer Nelson is all I'm going to say. He has got to do better than 3 points. Oddly enough, if you go back and look at the box scores more often than not, if he goes double digits, this team is either right there within a possession or winning the game.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's one of those things. Like, Emmanuel Miller is consistent. You know you're going to get
Correct.
12, 15, 17 from Emmanuel Miller. Jameer Nelson has been 22 or 2. Like,
Correct.
there hasn't been a whole lot of, just solid 10, 11-point nights. So, yeah, you're definitely right there. I still think Iowa State at home, though.
I agree. Absolutely, I agree.
West Virginia at Texas. We got kind of bad Texas in the last game, so I'm, at home. I'm expecting good Texas on Saturday.
I'm going to say everybody is. ESPN agrees. They're at almost 94% with 93.6. I think this is, if West Virginia upsets on the road, I think we're all surprised.
And that would, if that happened, Aaron, Texas would be 4-7 in the league.
Look, I'm here for it because obviously,
right.
Just saying, we'd all be surprised, and I'm sure that everyone would win a ton of money if they put anything on West Virginia.
Yeah. Houston, Cincinnati. We've done more than enough content on that one. Check it all out on the channel. UCF at Texas Tech. I have to think Texas Tech gets right here, considering the difference in how UCF plays at home and on the road. This
game is I think this is a must win for Texas Tech after the week that they've had.
Yeah,
you're at home. It's as much as a get right game as you're going to get on a schedule. But given the week that they've had, they have to win this game, or otherwise they're on the ropes. They're already. I'd be shocked if they're in the top 25 come Monday, given the week that they've had. So
even with the win over UCF, they probably will fall out.
I agree. Again, but stranger things happened. But
sure, but you get my point.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how you win. But yeah. I mean, it's I think that this is as much of a must win as any game that Texas Tech has played this season.
The big one, 6 o'clock, ESPN, Baylor at Kansas. I'll pick I'll pick Kansas to lose at home when they do. Like sometime after it happens for the first time. Could Baylor do it? Yes. I'm not buying it.
I'm with you. Baylor, coming off that Texas Tech win, Baylor looked good in that Texas Tech win, especially down the stretch. But much like we've seen Cincinnati, Baylor was not ever really at the end. They had many opportunities to really separate themselves from Texas Tech, and a sick Texas Tech team still kept fighting and staying within.
But that's Texas Tech, though. We've talked about that. Like they've got some cockroach to them at the end of games because they're so good on offense that they're hard to just get out of your hair.
But I'm with you. I believe in Kansas at home until there's a reason not to.
Right. Oklahoma State at Oklahoma. I wish this game was flipped. I wish this was at Oklahoma State. I'm sure it will be later in the season. I think right now, if Oklahoma State was at home, I think they could surprise Oklahoma.
I
don't think they're winning in Norman.
I hope they do, and I say that.
Yeah, but I'm not going to say with any confidence like, "Ooh, what that feel? This one's got me tingling."
I'm not gonna put any money on it. I'm not gonna do anything wild or anything. But I will be rooting for Oklahoma State in this game, and I will probably try, especially with it being a 7 o'clock tip. I'll probably find a way to at least watch a portion of this game, just with how fun Oklahoma State has been to watch this season.
This may be the most chips on the table game out there on the slate. Kansas State at BYU. Again, BYU in one of those positions. If they lose, they're 4-6 in the league. And they're at home. There's a lot of chips on the table for both teams, is what I'm saying.
Well, it may be. I think that BYU is the higher chip stack in this game. I don't think they're going to lose this one at home. Again,
I don't
this
either.
is one of
But
those.
Kansas State is bordering on like not mattering for the rest of the way, even with the Kansas win.
Kansas State doesn't actually matter to me. I agree with even with the Kansas win.
We're talking about in like the bubble, the tournament
I
picture.
I agree. I just don't think that Kansas State has enough fight in them to make a difference in this conference going down the stretch.
I agree, but my point being, they just beat Kansas. If they can go win at BYU, all of a sudden they go from losing 4 in a row and everybody kind of like kicking dirt on them to at least like they might not be all the way up in the coffin, but their eyes are open.
To me, the difference is they beat Kansas at home.
Sure,
like they beat them.
My point. If they then go on the road and beat BYU, now they have life.
I don't believe they have enough life to do that.
I don't either. I don't think they have enough offense to keep up with BYU. I think that's going to be their main problem.
That's my only point. Is I just don't think that there's enough fight there in order to do the thing.
They just beat Kansas, though. I'll give them. They fought. Like, they showed some fight at least.
At home, you have to do
how
that.
much more they got.
We talk until you're blue in the face. You have to win the ones at home. There is no excuse. You have to win the home game. That's the difference between Cincinnati being right now above average to great is those home games.
Sure. That's about it. I think we can put a bow on this one. It'll be a busy and fun Saturday. And we will be back here at some point when I get home Saturday night to discuss. Hopefully, we're all very happy. We'll see you then. This is the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!